True or false? All Riesling is sweet. 3, 2, 1. False. Not all Riesling is sweet. And if there's one piece of information that I can leave you with after this video, it's that there is so much great Riesling out there, some of which is sweet, but not all of it. A lot of it is dry, meaning free from any residual sugar, and that is the wine that we have today. This is the 2019 Weingut Tesch, and we are so excited to include this in the shipment because one, this is a delicious bottle of wine, but two, this is also a single vineyard Riesling, which is really, really hard to come by. It's really hard to get shipped here to the United States, and it's hard to find it in quantity to include in a wine club. So we are very, very honored and privileged, and I'm personally very excited to have this in our most recent shipment, along with 3 other delicious wines. Riesling, it's a fan favorite of somms, of wine professionals, and for very good reason. Riesling is one of the most interesting grape varietals out there. It's filled with lots of different things in the way of aromatics. It's filled with lots of different things on the palate. To me, it is one of the most delicious wines out there because I think not only does it give you so much, but it also gives you just the most delicious, refreshing profile. So let's take a peek at this wine and talk a little bit about the history, because this producer is actually one of the oldest. And interestingly, though it is coming from Germany, which is the motherland for Riesling, this is, Germany is synonymous with Riesling, right? This is the place that we think of when we think of the great Rieslings of the world. Region within Germany that we think of is often the Mosel region. We don't often think about the Nahe, which is where this is coming from. So I'm excited to be tasting a slightly different profile of Germany within this bottle. I think this is a wine that's going to give you a slightly different characteristic. The Mosel really leans into that very linear, precise, very clean profile. This is giving you a little bit more unctuousness. It's giving you a little bit more fruit. So if you're someone that loves dry Rieslings, but you want a little bit more texture, this is a really great one for you to look at. So first and foremost, let's just look at this wine for a second. Look at the little tiny bubbles in the bottom here. We've got some residual CO2 coming off of this wine. CO2 is going to be a weak acid. It wasn't racked off. It was left in there to preserve a little bit of freshness. This is a very common thing that producers do. The other thing that I want you to look at is the color. This is a much more golden color than we're often used to seeing. Color in white wine, especially when it's this golden hue, can come from a few different places. One is going to be age. So the older white wines are going to gain color with age. It could also come from the grape itself. Some grapes are just more inclined to throw more color, not necessarily because they're going to see skin contact. We'll talk about that in a second with our other wine that you'll see in the next video. And then the other place it could be coming from is the way that it was aged. So if a wine is aged in oak, it's going to pick up some of that golden color from there. And that's likely where we're getting this golden color from, because like I said, this is only a 2019, it's 2024, but we're just into that. So this is still a very, very young wine. We could be getting a little bit of color from the age, but more likely how it was aged. As you stick your nose in this glass, I want you to brace yourself, and I want you to have a super open mind, because there's going to be a lot of things going on. And I want you to remember the rule of thumb when you are tasting wine, which is one, to get your nose all the way in the glass. So the way that I like to do is basically get the bridge of my nose all the way to the rim of the glass. And then two, I want you to move your head around. I want you to kind of turn it up, down, left, right, sign of the cross, however you want to do it. I want you to move your head around in that glass, because there's going to be a lot going on. You could probably stay out here, and I am, and still get a lot of what's going on in the glass, but you're missing like 70% of it. So make sure you really get in there. So let's start with getting our nose in the glass. Like I said, bridge of the nose, top of the glass. Move it around. And you should be getting a few different things. These are really classic markers for Riesling. One, peaches, apricots, stone fruit. This lives in the stone fruit family all day long. It's very rare that you're going to really see anything out of that. You might see a little bit of citrus. There's definitely some Meyer lemon here, but you're really not going to see a lot in the way of orchard fruit like apples. This really leans in just stone fruits. The second thing, and this is really the big tell for these wines for Riesling, especially from Germany, is petrol, a little bit of that gasoline smell. I know if you've never smelled it before, you're gonna think I'm crazy, but it's there, I promise. This is a telltale sign of Riesling. You smell it? Yeah, there's just something a little bit like, petrol in there. The other thing that you're almost always going to get is a little bit of a white flower component. So look for acacia, look for white flowers in there. It's very subtle. This is not the first thing it's going to lean into. This is not your Viognier. This is not a wine that's super floral and over the top. This is a wine that just has a really subtle base layer of florality to it. So you should be getting those three things for sure. Now, as this opens up, you're going to notice that all of those things start coming out even more. I definitely recommend serving this with a chill in a white wine glass like this, but you don't need to get it super, super cold. In fact, the colder you get it, the less you're going to smell. So let this, come out of the fridge for about 15 to 20 minutes before you actually serve it. The other thing that it's going to do is allow some of the viscosity of this wine, that thickness of the liquid, to kind of amp up. I love that in a wine like this, but if you're someone that is like, this is too aromatic and I don't love the viscosity of it, go ahead and chill it back down. On that note, let's taste the wine. This is a lesson in acidity 101. Right here, you feel how you're salivating all the way from up by your ears and down. This is a high acid wine. This is super normal for Riesling, and often why Riesling is sweet, to balance some of that acidity. But this is a wine that, like I said, is bone dry. There's no residual sugar, but it does have this really great ripe fruit profile. It was a warmer vintage in 2019, and so you're getting a lot of these peaches and apricots on the riper side of things, though it is not sweet. I think Riesling also sort of falls into this trap of being sweet, or people thinking that it's sweet, because you have all of this like really, really intense fruitiness a lot of the time. And though there's maybe not always sugar in it, sometimes we can trick ourselves into thinking that there's this thing called perceived sweetness, where because we associate certain fruits with having sugar in them, we think that there's actually sugar in our mouths, but we're not. It's not there. It's just the perceived sweetness of it. It's the flavor profile that's tricking our brains into thinking that sugar is there when it's actually not. So as you first taste this wine, the acidity should definitely be the first thing that you notice. You should be feeling it from here. As you continue tasting this wine, that acidity is going to start to moderate a little bit. You'll start to feel that come down just a little bit. So you're not going to feel it up by your ears. It's going to start to just, feel it down here a little bit. The other thing that I think is really interesting on this wine is there's sort of this like prickliness on here. And I know we're just still starting to talk about texture and the body and the structure of this wine, but there's almost this like prickliness on your tongue. There's almost like a phenolic component, almost like if you licked a peach skin, or if you can kind of feel it, right? There's just something on there. It's not necessarily tannin, but there's a prickliness on your tongue, almost like a pear. The palate is almost identical to what you were getting on the nose. So you're still getting all of that great stone fruit. You're still getting that petrol, and you're getting a little bit of that white flower on there. And what I love is how beautiful that is against viscosity of this wine. Even though this is a light-bodied wine, there is a little bit of breath to this wine. It's not light like a Pinot Grigio. It's not full like a Chardonnay. It's just kind of somewhere in between. And that's really what I love. The other thing about this wine is that this is a food wine. This is a wine that I highly recommend getting with something like cheese, but probably my most favorite pairing in the whole world is doing Riesling with a little bit of Thai food. There is something about that combination that just works, and it's almost universal across the board. Anything that has, the components that Thai food often have, these flavors that are super, super balanced within the entirety of the dish. And that's where Riesling can really, really shine, is with dishes like that. You could also go the super savory route. Of course, we're talking about Germany, so we could go the sausage route. We could go really savory and really fatty because it does have the acid structure to support that. But Riesling is one of the most food-friendly wines on the planet, and so you can have a lot of fun with that. The only place that I'd stay away from in general is beef. It really doesn't love red meat, but any other light protein is great. Salads are great. Cheese, of course. And like I said, if you really want to have some fun with it, Riesling and Thai food is where it's at. I hope you all enjoy this wine as much as I am. I think it's just going to keep getting better as it opens in the glass. And cheers to drinking more Riesling this spring and summer.